Why do you find that maybe some business owners or people on social media just stop posting or give up or fail? Why do you think that happens?
We're going back to that point, that word that you asked me for, right? Belief.
When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run, I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision. Woo! Welcome back, everyone, to your place for everything empowerment. I am your host, Tarik Williams, and not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. And welcome back to the Speak Your Vision podcast, Everything Empowerment. You know what we do here. Quick public service announcement. Be sure to check out the Recognize Your Vision coaching programs coming out fairly soon. Link in the bio for all those great things. But that is not why we are here. We are here to talk Speaker Vision podcast. And once again, we have a great guest with us today, owner, branding manager. She's going to tell us all about her business, Polaris Creatives. We have Sam McKinley. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my God, thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know I was messing around with the title a little bit. So, Polaris Creatives, what
hmm
exactly is it before we get into the podcast?
So, the name is very special to me, but I'm basically a branding and lead strategy coach. I help people leverage social media and brand messaging to grow their business and generate leads. And yeah, Polaris Creatives kind of derives from the North Star. And
Ooh, okay.
basically, I want to be people's guiding light, their true north, how they find their way in getting, their business recognized and making their business known.
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. Words are very important here on the podcast, and we start off every episode the same. The fact that Polaris Creatives and the North Star, I love that. Fun fact for the people listening and
Mhm.
watching at home, Tarik actually means star. Fun fact. So there you go. Uh,
I
um,
love that.
but once again, words, language has the power that we give it, has the value that we give it, the action that we put behind it. But I really like to see what individuals have to say about, different things using one word to set the tone for our podcast episode. And so when it comes to everything that you're doing, Sam, and everything like that, what is one word that explains, why you wanted to start your business, your entrepreneurship journey, and what you do? What's one word that you would use to describe that?
Ooh, one word. The one word that's solely coming to mind is belief.
Mm,
And it's coming to mind because, I I've been through a lot in life and my dad was an entrepreneur and when he passed away, I was really inspired by his journey and I really just wanted to become a resource to people because I've worked in branding and marketing for so long and belief is wrapped around the belief that I could do it, the belief that I have so much knowledge and such a skill set that like I want to help people and I feel like, yeah, belief is pretty much my word, I would say.
wow, wow. I like that. One thing that I always tell a lot of my clients, in the mindset realm and everything like that, is that whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, either way, you're going to be right.
Yeah.
And so having that belief is very important. But I do want to go back to another thing that you said. So once again, sorry for your loss with your dad and everything. Sending your family and you all the love and everything like that. And so your dad was an entrepreneur. So was that what encouraged you to be one as well?
Yeah, no, it's been over 2.5 years now, so it's totally okay. And yeah, he was definitely the person. He was a CEO for like a long period of time, and then he built his own business as just kind of like a solopreneur. And he was more of like a sales rep and like an independent contractor and an in between. And just to see him grow his business from nothing to then everything. And then also my mom has built businesses, and I'm just kind of inspired by a family of making things happen and getting stuff done, you know?
Yeah. It's all about making it happen, right?
Exactly.
Taking the action, taking the steps to whatever that means to move forward.
Yep.
And what I think is really cool about your brand is that it's set up in a way to help other people work on creating their brand and getting business and everything like that. So you're bringing everything full circle and working with other entrepreneurs as well.
Yep.
Um, so did you always see yourself wanting to work with other entrepreneurs and coaches, et cetera? Like, and what gave you the idea to build this particular business?
So funny because for the longest time, I was really just telling this story to someone else the other day, and that for the longest time, I really wanted to go like the entrepreneur route. Like I thought that I would climb the corporate ladder. I really, really wanted to work for Vogue or work for Condé Nast and like help plan the Met Gala one day. It would be so cool. It'd be such a cool dream to do. But as I started working out of college and as I started getting more and more of a grasp of who I am as an individual, I was
Mm,
kind of like, this doesn't really work for me. Like the whole strict 9 to 5, the whole, I love, every place that I've worked at, but I feel like a lot of corporate structures are revolved around passive aggressiveness. Like,
mm.
oh, like you didn't get this done. Like, okay. Like instead of just being direct.
Right, right.
And so for me, I got tired of building other people's business to the point of where I wanted to. And I was just like, I really want to do this for myself. Like I have all these skills, like I have such a skill set that you just don't get to utilize sometimes in certain roles. Like, yeah, if you work for a startup or if you work for a tech company, sometimes you get to wear a lot of hats, but not all the time is your voice specifically allowed to shine the way
Mm.
that, you can.
That
And
I
go
was
ahead.
just to comment on that. That is so true
Hmm.
because it's one thing to have a seat at the table, and it's another thing to actually be heard at the table.
Exactly. Exactly. And that was a big thing for me. I had gotten laid off in maybe August of 2021, and I was like, my plan was so funny because I was literally like, okay, I'm gonna work at this company for like maybe like a year or two, and then I'm gonna start my own thing. Universe was like, huh, you want to start it? You want to wait? And then so I was really unhappy when I got laid off, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm just really stuck. And then I got this other job working for this woman, and I thought it was going to be like business development, this whole thing, but it ended up being that I was just like this glorified personal assistant. And
Mm,
I
mhm,
was just like, this just isn't working for me. And I kept getting nudges from the universe just to take a leap, just to like bet on myself. And since I had kind of this ongoing notion of um man, I should be doing more in this job. Like this job just isn't letting me like be in my absolute moment. Like, and as Jen Gottlieb in her book Be Seen, she says, I'm just not in the pocket, like I just wasn't in the pocket like at all. And so I quit and I started my business and basically treated myself as my first client and did all the things wrong and
mm.
learned from everything. And basically put structure to the name after spending X amount of months getting it wrong. And here I am helping other people grow.
You know, People don't understand, right? That it is okay to do things wrong sometimes. Like, it's a part of the learning, it's a part of the growing, it's a part of getting to where you wanna be.
Yep.
I mean, if I'm trying to get to 10 and I'm starting off at 2, I gotta learn some things at 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, might have to come back down to 6 to
Yes.
then continue to evolve my mindset and wherever it is I wanna go. So, I like that you make the point that it's okay to do things wrong and
Yeah.
learn in the process.
Yeah. And I mean, there's like another thing that Jen says is like let fear be in the passenger seat, not in the driver's
Mhm.
seat. And there's been a lot of ups and downs going through it. And to point it back to that word that you asked me that I would choose of just belief, when you're growing a business or when you're pivoting or when you're just making like changes, all it is about belief in yourself and who you are and how you can impact other people.
Mhm.
And so yeah, it's definitely been a journey, and a journey comes with lots and lots of ups and downs.
You know, it's only a true like and I don't even like see, I don't even look at failure as a bad thing, but I'll use this for lack of better words.
Mhm.
It's only a true failure if you decide to not learn from it.
Yeah.
Um, because what happens is you either learn from the lessons that you're being taught during the process, or you choose not to learn from them and they're going to continue happening, right? And
Yeah.
so it's really important to learn throughout the journey. And one thing that you mentioned was the word fear. I want to get into that before we start getting into some more business questions.
Yeah.
Um, on a podcast episode a few weeks ago, I had coach and author Alexis Carpenter on,
Mhm.
and we were talking about, fear. Came up quite a bit. Fear came up quite a bit in terms of in that episode, we were talking about why are we waiting for the new year
Yeah.
to get to our goals and everything like that. And fear came up. And something that she said was like, I don't look at fear or like fear as something like being fearless, right?
Mhm.
Um, because she said fearless has, I guess the definition of fearless would be to not have any fear at all. And
Yeah.
she looked at it as, well, it's fearless. Like it's fearless. I'm just gonna fear a little bit less. It doesn't mean the fear is not there. I'm just gonna fear a little bit less and work through it.
I
And
love that.
I thought that was so funny. I started laughing. I think she's probably confused why I was laughing. But the reason why I was laughing was because that is so true. It's not called fear none.
Mhm.
you know, it's a thing that's a part of the journey, but we learn from it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I love that sentiment. That's so true because it's like, yeah, you just gotta sometimes you just gotta do things. You really have to take the leap and make things work, and you can't be afraid of fear. You can't be anything like that. You just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna have a little bit of less of it. That's fine. Like we're just gonna fake it until we make it at this point.
you know, Even in terms of like my blindness and my journey, I 100% have fear, but I don't let that fear consume me. I let it give me power to, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out along the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And uh, tied with all that, you said you got to take the leap. I mean, Nike says it best, just do it, right?
Mhm.
Just do it. And so that's a great, segue into some great branding. I bet nobody thought that we would think like a little swoosh or check mark would be the most exciting, best brand in the one of the best brands in the
Right.
entire world. But it is. And so when it comes to branding and social media, um, what are some of the things that you feel like maybe some people do wrong? And what are some of the things that scare people about social media? And what should they be doing to get through that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Some of the things I see is just we're all out here trying our best, right? You're putting one foot in front of the other and you're making things happen. It just might not be directly to your target audience. And I've worked on it a lot with coaches and business coaches, and even in therapy, actually, of just focusing on one person and
Mm,
making and dedicating all of your content to that one person who needs you, because regardless of what you're doing, that one person's there on your profile, that one person's looking for you, like all of their content should be towards them. And um I've just kind of seen sometimes that people just need a little bit of guidance. They need to know like a cohesive profile on Instagram looks great, and some people want to go through it. And I was just listening to something the other day, I cannot remember what it was, but they were literally talking about how somebody's going to go to your profile and they're going to want to continue reading your story, like listening to your story, like knowing more about you. But if your profile doesn't have those elements, then it's kind of like a hit or miss situation where someone's not going to follow, like, going to want to follow you, but they should want to continue to watch that, if that makes sense. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, I feel like starting out or just like reevaluating where you're at is looking at your views, looking at your analytics and how you're basically positioning yourself. And then you're like, are you hitting the marks of really reaching your target audience? And do you need to specify your niche? Do you need to change your videos? Do you need to change maybe putting covers on your reels so that your profile looks more appealing? Like
Mm.
those sort of things. Like it's all kind of about like the cohesive look that some people like, because as much as it's a social media platform, people still like aesthetically pleasing things, you know?
But gosh, Sam, you know, I only have 112 followers, and there's someone else doing what I want to do and they have 15K. Why should I even start?
Because it's funny. There's another one of my favorite speeches that Jen Gottlieb does, and she talks about we can't look at people's chapter 20 versus our chapter 1. And our chapter 1 is meant to be that we don't know what we're doing. We're meant to just be out there and like, yeah, we only have 150 followers. Shoot, I only have 160, almost 170, but that doesn't mean I haven't helped clients reach higher. That just
Mhm.
means like for my own personal thing, it's been a little bit slower of a thing because I've taken the time to develop and like look at all the analytics and look at all the things for my clients so that it helps them rather than myself, because it's always easier to help other people than do it for yourself, you know?
Mhm.
But when we think about why should they work with you, it's because it's you. You don't have everyone's perspective. It's the same reason that you work with a personal trainer, right? Or you do anything. You end up liking the person. You end up liking the style. You end up liking what they have to offer, how they train you, how they coach you. It's going to be the same thing when someone looks for a mindset coach, right? They're going to be
Mhm.
like, what is Tarik? Like, Tarik's personality gets me. Like,
He's pretty freaking dope. But no,
yeah, he's pretty cool. I want to work with him. Like
right.
you're the reason that
Right.
people are going, like that's why it's different. It's because regardless of what that person has 15, 100, a million followers, it doesn't matter because you're starting out, you're growing, and people are going to want to work with you because you're you.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, absolutely. Your story is your story, right?
Hmm.
Nobody can take that away from you. No
Exactly.
one. Gosh, I was thinking about this. I haven't talked about this on the podcast. I've touched on it, but I remember very vividly the first day I found out I was losing my vision and becoming blind.
Hmm.
Um, See, I was really into school back in the day. I loved school. I would never miss a day of school. Like cough, cough. Nah, I'm cool. I'm going. I just loved going to school, and so I had an eye appointment at like 8:15, 8 o'clock or whatever. So I was already upset that I was going to be late, right? And I got the news, and then we had to go through a lot more different appointments and everything like that. And this is the long story short version.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give the long story in another episode. But my mom was like, "Treat, you still want to go to school?" Yeah, I want to go to school, right? But I also didn't want, and my mom's probably listening. Hey mom, how's it going? um so I still wanted to go to school, but I also, and I think my mom knows this now, I didn't want her to see me upset,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so I got to school and I was upset. I was upset, but first and foremost, even though I was upset, in the back of my head and just the way my mindset works, I knew that I was gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know why. I didn't know how. All I knew I was gonna continue to lose more vision, and but I knew I was gonna be okay. And so that was the one thing that I wanted to leave my mother with when I left the car. Um, Secondly, the other piece of this is I got to school And I didn't go to my class though. Sorry, mom, I didn't go directly to my class. I went straight to the teacher that I knew the most. At that time, her name was Mrs. Fools. Shout out Mrs. Fools. And I went to her class while she was teaching, and she could tell I looked upset, and I just started crying. And that was the moment, right?
Yeah.
And I almost wonder because I don't remember. I've never even talked to any of the students at all in that class. I really don't know who saw it. I was just very. It didn't matter at that moment in time. I guess I
Yeah.
just needed to release whatever that was. But then after that, ultimately, once again, those experience shaped me, right? And
Yeah.
so that's my experience. And then you have, Sam, in terms of your experience with wanting to build businesses and brands, and with, the passing of your dad it shaped both of us, right? Those two
Yeah.
stories and many more stories have shaped us. And whatever stories that whoever is listening has shaped you. And so, with that being said, no one can take that away from you.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I when I was younger, growing up in like a small town and like a small mountain town, what your story kind of resonated a lot with what I went through, of like the mentality that a silver lining was how I got through most things. Like, I thought about a silver lining because it doesn't have to be gold, it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be
Mm,
platinum. It does just has to be right there in the middle. Like,
yeah.
it can just sit there, and like it means that we're still work in progress, but we're not third. Like we're still there. Like, we haven't made first place. We haven't like gotten that quite gold yet, but we're still on that prime level. So that's like another thing that like I really used to like get me through like hard times too. So like that resonated with me a lot with your story. It's kind of just like everything's gonna be fine eventually, and you take a sentiment and you make it work.
We're all doing our thing. We're not trying, we're doing it, we're making it happen. And getting back to that prime level, we are the prime version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, though, your dream, your business, etc., unfortunately, is not Amazon Prime. It will not get here in 2 days, unfortunately. But that's the reality because, like we've been saying, Sam, we have to learn along the way to our journey.
Yeah, 100%.
And so business creations and social media and brand marketing are just some of the things that you do. And I feel like sometimes, once again, you mentioned niching down a bit more, and you mentioned maybe sometimes that's what people need to do to and make sure you're talking to that one person. Um, why do you find that maybe some business owners or people on social media just stop posting or give up or fail? Why do you think that happens?
We're going back to that point, that word that you asked me for, right? Belief. Like,
Mm,
it's usually what it comes down to, because what I tell most of my clients is that usually it takes about 90 days to see some traction on social media when you do either rebranding or you're just starting out. It takes about 90 days to really see something, really see a difference. And sometimes when I think we're in a very strong generation of almost instant gratification, where we see a lot of people who have instant success and like viral videos and TikToks and things that just go viral so quickly, that jump people's social media profiles so fast. And it's possible. It really is. However, sometimes we like it takes longer. Like, and I mean, for me, like I even think about that with my profile. It's taken some time, but like I look at everything with a grain of salt, because I'm like, that's okay. Like, I'm not looking for that instant gratification. And I think my perspective would be a lot different if it was. And so I think with a lot of businesses who kind of stop posting, or they feel like they failed, it's kind of just they forget about that belief of like things do take time, and it's not that instant gratification sometimes overnight as much as I wish it could be. I mean, there are strategies and there are ways that like things can happen, but to grow a business and to grow it organically and to do it the best way possible, it does take more time than it takes, it takes a lot of energy too. So I think some people just hit that point and they're just kind of like, I've lost this belief in myself. I've lost this belief of that things have time, like take time. And I'm really looking for that. I need that instant growth.
Hmm.
And they just walk away from it.
Kevin Hart, not that Kevin Hart needs a shout out, but he has a reel, right? Actually, Kevin Hart, if you're listening, put me in the movie, bro. But anyways, um, Kevin Hart has a reel where he says, and he's actually not telling a joke. He's saying the hardest thing to do is to continue showing up and being consistent and not seeing any results. That's one of the hardest things to do. But you have to recognize, and I'm finishing it for him here. You have to recognize that it's your vision. Shout out to the Recognize Your Vision coaching program, but it's your vision, it's your dream, it's yours. It's not someone else's, it's yours. And
Yeah.
it's your perspective to get there. And so recognize this that you can. And once again, just emphasizing what you said, that it might take a little bit sometimes, but that's okay.
Yeah, it reminds me so much of this story like my therapist told. I'm gonna botch it because I don't remember exactly like all of the right details, but the
Yeah.
basis of the storyline is what it is. But he's telling me a story because I was having the same problem a couple months ago. I was just like, man, like this instant gratification thing, it's really hard to just like get rid of and get that chip off your shoulder. But he was telling me this story about this family, right? And they lived on this beautiful farm somewhere tropical or somewhere else, right? And they struck and they found a diamond. And they were like, oh
Mm,
my God, like this is so amazing. This diamond is going to change our lives. So they started like mining for diamonds, couldn't find anything after that one diamond. And they were like, okay, we're gonna move. We're gonna see this other spot has like it's known for diamonds. Maybe we're just gonna strike gold. So they move instead of keeping at that place and keeping to try and find the diamonds. And they move and they're there for years. They can't seem to find diamonds. And then all of a sudden, someone comes like, this diamond industry is huge. And they're like, where is this coming from? And they're like, oh, back at your original house, like back at your original place. Like you were like, if not a foot, if not 100 feet, if not 200 feet away from a huge diamond mine. And you were sitting right on top of it, but you didn't go far enough into it. And so ever since my therapist told me that story, I was like, oh, like sometimes you could be millimeters, seconds, minutes, hours, whatever away from success. But if you don't go past that little like benchmark of like, oh, I really need to just keep going, then you might just be sitting on a whole field of diamonds and move because you think you have to move somewhere else to get there.
woo, woo. That's good
Right.
stuff. That's good stuff. And so for the listeners, whatever you're struggling with, whatever the goal is, know that you're right there. You're there.
Mhm.
You're there.
You're
You
there.
just keep going. Just keep going. Some people say even like one of the moments where you're the closest to that success and everything like that is typically during the hardest time. And if you
Yeah.
can get through the hardest time in terms of starting your business and your brand and everything like that, if you can get through that, you will be able to reap the benefits. Just keep, in the famous words of Dory, just keep swimming. I'm not
Thoughts.
I'm not much of a swimmer though. However, what I do want to know is, Sam, when people want to work with you and Polaris Creatives and all the great things that you're doing, what are some of the programs and what does working with you look like? What does that entail?
Yeah, so I have two coaching programs at the moment, one 4 week and one 8 week, or actually three, actually, because I've made a new one recently of just kind of working with individuals. And this one's a little bit more budget friendly for people who are looking for the same type of advice, but on a more like budget friendly pocket. But it's a little bit more one-on-ones. We meet like every other week. that sort of thing. But my 4-week coaching program kind of goes over monetization, content creation, marketing strategy, and a whole bunch of other good things. And the 8-week program kind of goes over the same things, just a little bit more in depth and takes a little bit more time to go through them. But essentially, I work with my clients, give them homework, give them things to do, whether it be learning about AI, whether it be
Mm.
going and finding their brand. Like I'm starting to work with the one and only Mary Lacey Banks, and she decided to work with me, and we're just meeting every Friday for like 30 minutes or an hour. And she's one of those on like one on the new packages that I've made. And we're talking about AI, some meetings. We're talking about her profile on Instagram. We're talking about creating a separate one for her podcast. Like all the things that we're doing is basically just defining the needs of your brand and the needs of like where you're going. So I look at my clients and I really tailor it and I specialize it to them and their needs.
Yeah.
And then we kind of build from there because it's, not everyone's at the same position. Like we've talked about, some people are already like in the middle of the brand. Sometimes they need to restructure. Sometimes they're new. Sometimes they just need to know where to go. And I just help them find that. I'm their North Star.
Hey, hey, love that. Love that. Real quick, and I'm once again, it's always about the people. It's always about giving value to the people in the podcast and everything like that. But I heard you say something about MLB's profile and everything like that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask a firsthand question. So maybe those listening who are interested in media and branding and everything like that can get something out of this. But it's about me at the moment. So quick question. So you mentioned telling her to create a whole new Instagram for her podcast. Did I hear that correctly?
You did. You did.
Okay, interesting. So, and was that a recommendation of yours? And if so, why do you feel like she should make a whole new Instagram for her podcast?
So she's leaning into a whole new world of coaching. And I think that it's great. And she's starting to define it. I won't tell exactly what it is yet because we're working on the kinks and she gets the power to say when she's ready to announce it.
Oh yeah.
But by working on her profile, we kind of just want to tailor her brand a little bit differently. One part of her is going to be her new coaching platform and like her new profile page and episodes that are relevant to her coaching style, I think are going to be super amazing to have.
Hmm.
However, her podcast won't always be relevant to that. And I think hyping it on both is useful. So like having a profile that's just about your podcast and just about content from your podcast, because even you, right? You have so much content from your podcast that it should be posted on a profile that's mainly for your podcast. And then your coaching business highlights and can comment on some of the things that you talk about. And then you can make content based off of all of the things that you've talked about in your podcast if they're relevant to your mindset coaching. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think when we're talking about having a podcast and having your profile, from what I've seen and all the research I've done, it's a lot easier when the two are separate because
Hmm.
then people can be a fan of just your podcast and then people can be a part of your coaching. So, and then you can grow it in any way that you want. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely, it does. And so, for those listening, you just got some firsthand coaching. Why would you not want to work with Sam after that moment? I'm not really sure why not. And so I think that was really neat. You know, I'll say this. Once again, everything mindset and everything like that. And once again, I enjoy being able to just like be like unique and have people get to know me on
Yeah.
my profiles and everything like that. I think it's just a lot of fun. And so it's really neat to see some of the things and that you go into the analytics and really understand the numbers to see what works and what may not work.
Yeah. I mean, that's my job, like I want to do the work for my clients to help them be successful because like why else would you hire me, Like I'm supposed to do that for you so that you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so what and in terms of as we get ready to start to wrap up here, for individuals who are once again, a bit nervous and everything like that, and um don't exactly know what next looks like for them, um how would you help someone, I guess, gain their composure and give them some infrastructure to get to where they want to be?
For that's a really good question. First, again, we're circling it back to that belief, right? You have
Yeah.
to know that like it is about what you're doing and who you're serving. Like Jen Gottlieb and Chris Winsfield say, they say help one person every day. So,
Hope, hope,
yep,
help one
hope.
person every day. Let's get it. I love that.
Hope is like a foundational element in your business. It's helping one person every day, and it's having hope that like eventually you will reach your target audience. So for someone starting out, the biggest thing is knowing that you might just need someone by your side. And
Mm,
that's why having me as a coach or anyone who's a coach, sometimes you just need someone there because being an entrepreneur in general, like we even talked about at the conference, like it's lonely because until you meet those friends who are your power posse, shout out, or you meet friends who are like-minded, it can be really hard because you have to go through financial changes, mindset changes, so many things. And so, starting from the beginning, I usually work on that with clients. Like, I'm just kind of like, okay, like, where are you at in your point of business and what do we need to work on? And if there's any, false beliefs, negative beliefs, or things that just like you're not like working on, like, how can we fix that? And then let's build your brand because you have to be right in your brand to grow your brand.
yes.
And so, yeah, I'd kind of start there with them. And foundation is everything. You are the foundation of your brand. And then you build up from there because if you're not okay, then your brand's not okay.
And my Recognize Your Vision signature coaching program, we start foundation as well. Ultimately, I want my clients to get to that sustainable problem solving mindset.
Hmm.
Once again, if foundationally things aren't in place to have a problem solving mindset and build that confidence up, if the foundation's not there, there's nothing there. And so, how can we build on nothing, right? That's why we got to have a foundation to help you get to where you want to get to. So, we're definitely in the same accord on that situation.
Yeah.
Ultimately, once again, I'm more of the like this. Like once again, I'm all mindset, right? In
Hmm.
terms of transforming and evolving, and I like that you connect with that, and you take it with you when it comes to the brand building and strategy and all that. So that's really neat.
Yeah, it's an important element to have, regardless if mine's a little bit more accelerated, because yours is, I think mindset is everything. And so
Mhm.
working with your programs, I think would be amazing. And then someone who, like, hypothetically, after worked with you and then came to me, it's like, okay, how do we implement all of the things that you just learned from Tarik into your business? And like, we touch on those like little foundational things and then build from there. It's like very quick touch ons, but also giving you homework, also giving you reminders, and then continuing on because like I said, your brand isn't you without you being okay.
Exactly, exactly. Very nice, very nice. That's awesome. We have to set up that pipeline. They get the mindset coaching from me, and then when they're ready to build their business, we'll send them all over. We'll send them on over to Polaris.
I love that.
Uh,
Hey, let's do it.
all right. So once again, language being super important. Um, and I know I'm changing this up a little bit, but once again, I love what you're doing in terms of brand building and everything like that. So, what is one word that you would want to leave everyone here with when it comes to when you think of where your business is going or where you want your clients' businesses to go? What would be one word that would define what or where that is?
Hmm.
It's
So
it's it's
you're saying like where I'm at personally, right?
Yeah, where you're at personally, but where your business will be. So,
Hmm.
like, one word that describes where your business is going to be, but also, what that looks like for your clients as well.
I would say abundance.
Ooh,
Abundance in all aspects because, I could say that it's take the leap, or I could make it one sentence instead of a word, but abundance is everything because once you have your mindset, once you have your foundation of your business, abundance comes quickly. And for me, that's where I'm at with my business, is just claiming and taking that abundance. And I have seen my clients accelerate at levels that are absolutely unknown and unmatched. And for them, it's also claiming abundance, and it's also knowing that abundance is right around the corner. So, whether it be working with me or something like that, it's like knowing that I'm in that state, I'm helping everyone who works with me get there to that phase as well.
Let's get it. Hey, Speak Your Vision podcast. The vision is abundant. Let's make it happen. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Abundance. Love that. Oh gosh. That's the perfect way to end. Speak Your Vision podcast. Speak it into existence. Speak on that abundance, because we believe, starting off that belief, we know you can get there.
Yep, totally agree.
You just got to start.
Just take the leap.
Let's get it. All right, Sam. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a great episode. I really think some great value was had here on this episode today. Any final comments for the people?
Take the leap. Believe in yourself. You've got this. That abundance is right around the corner. Whether it be working with me, working with Tarik, whoever you find, your next phase of business is literally nothing but claiming abundance. So I hope that all comes to whoever's listening.
Let's get it. You don't got to do it alone. We're here for you. Go ahead and make it happen. Take the leap. Let's get
Big
it.
facts. Let's get it.
Not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. Thank you for listening to the podcast, everyone. Let's get it. When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run. I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision.